Afternoon again, guys. Still March 15th, 2:48 p.m. here on the East Coast. So the second vlog for today, since I forgot to put one up yesterday, will be on what would you change today? Knowing what you know today, looking back on your life up until this point, what would you change today? So, and this makes me think of a lot of different things because your life is constantly changing. You're always trying to adapt to different circumstances in an ever-changing environment. But looking back at to what you have completed thus far, are you happy with the person that you've become? Are you content with where you are today? If you're not, it's solely based on the decisions you made up until this point. And your decisions are kind of what guided you into the person you've become today. So are you happy with that person that you are today? If not, what would you like to change about you today? So, and I'll give you a brief synopsis of how this applies to me, and maybe you can figure out how it applies to you. Excuse me. But I know we're all constantly trying to better ourselves. At least a majority of us are. We're always trying to look for new ways to either look better or be better in some sort of aspect. And I find this most interesting by the some of my closest friends and people that have been good friends along the way to me, and the people I do like to keep rather closest in my circle. Um, when it comes to friends and me wanting to change something about me, is I wish I could be a little bit more carefree. I notice that I care a lot about a lot of different things, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do envy the type of person like my baby's godfather, and envy like the way him and some of my closest friends can, just be a little bit more carefree about life. Like if things tend to go bad, they don't let that, they kind of shake it off as, oh well, they kind of keep striving. And for me, I tend to hold on to those things a little bit more than I would like to. And I've always adopted these types of friends around me and noticed that I have close relationships with those types of people because I'm trying to adapt that mentality, that mindset that it's okay to have bad things happen to you, and it's going to be commonplace, and it's how you rebound from those negative things that kind of let you keep moving forward. And those people that I like that are more carefree, I notice they're in greater moods a majority of the time than if something um, they don't really let too much bother them. They just kind of go with the flow. If things aren't working out for them, then they're not really, upset at it. And I've always liked to adopt that mentality, and I've tried to been working on it for years and years now, and I'm still having trouble grasping it because it's meaning letting go of certain values and standards that I have put in place for myself and set up for myself. But in order to live a more stress-free life, I believe you have to be a little carefree at times and just kind of roll with the punches, so to speak. That's just a specific example for me, looking back on things. And then I was in a conversation with one of my bosses the other day while we were out doing some work, and I was, I tend to think back towards my military career and wonder if I could have done more. And this has to do with what would I change today. But looking back on my past, I feel like I volunteered plenty for myself, for my country, and a lot of other things. But in comparison to some people, I'm the more extravagant type of people, like Medal of Honor type of people who served in the military. I pale in comparison. So sometimes I do get an urge to, want to live dangerously and go put my life on the line again. And it's just a feeling that I have. But then I reminisce about the times that I spend with my girls, which are my wife and daughter now, and think about those times that I spend with them and realize that if I were to do those types of things again, engage in the type of activity that I was engaging in the military, some of it more extravagant than others, that I may not return home one time. And that to I was at peace with it many years ago, but now I feel like I have something more to live for and something more to fight for. And being around my family on a consistent basis, on a daily basis, is just um, words can't explain the gratitude and the happiness that I feel being around them. So I'd much rather do that. But when I was given the opportunity to act, I think maybe I should have been a little more out there, a little more living on the edge, so to speak, while I was in the military. And it's not that I don't regret it. I did do some fun stuff, but looking back on my life, I feel like maybe I could have done more in comparison to the people who did do more in both decades past and probably here in the future. But you can't change necessarily what's happened in your past. You can only adjust for the future, and I can try to make those adjustments by incorporating certain friends around me and living a certain lifestyle that can be healthy in order to make sure that my future is as best as it can be and as fulfilling as it can be. So that'll be it for today's vlog. I think that'll be enough for what would you change today. But just think back on your life up until this point, and if you don't like a certain behavior that you have or a certain philosophy that you have, or you're just unsatisfied with the way you're behaving or you're acting, then what is it that would change it? Is it a change of friends? Is it a change of attitude? Is it a change of circumstances? You got to figure out what change needs to happen in order so you can be happy and so you can be fulfilled in the things that need to take place so you can feel that way. So that'll be it for today's vlog. I did notice I'm at 45 subscribers. So I'm really happy with that. I still got 15 days to go to get to 50. I believe I will hit 50. And once I do hit 50, we'll see if that happens before the end of the month so I can set a new goal. So again, you guys will bear witness to all the changing things in my life as they start to develop here in the near future. And I appreciate you guys watching every second of my videos. Don't think that I don't. I put time into these videos and invest time and try to invest some of the life experience and wisdom that I have so you guys can learn from my experiences through these videos. You don't have to necessarily make the same mistakes I made or live through some of the challenges that I've had to go through myself. Maybe you guys can avoid those and have more of a stress-free life and more of a carefree life like I'm trying to get to. So appreciate you guys watching, and I will definitely see you guys on the next one.